Okay, welcome to the 66th annual Portsmouth Invitational Tournament here at Churchill High School, Churchland High School here in Portsmouth, Virginia. I am James Blackburn, joined today by my good friend and co-host Tyler Gatlin. Tyler was assistant coach this year in the NBA G League for the Northern Arizona Suns. So, Tyler, welcome to the broadcast, and looking forward to a good week with you.
Appreciate that, James. It's going to be awesome. We're here in Portsmouth, Virginia, and we've got a bunch of talented players here to watch. This morning we'll get an idea to put some names to faces and see how they measure out in terms of athleticism and wingspan and height and weight and all those things. And the big-time action starts tonight, so we'll be here entertaining the audiences and having a good time, and we'll see lots of good basketball this week.
Yeah, so just for those people watching now, these are not actually the games that we're doing. We are actually doing the combine testing now, performed or put on by BAM Testing. It's the same group that does the NBA combine that you guys see in Chicago. So we have 32, which is half of the 64, which is the field of players we have here. So we've got 32 players here this morning. Right now they are changing, getting ready, stretching. They just heard from Ryan Blake on some of the things that they need to do to get noticed this week. So what are some of the things you're looking forward to seeing this morning?
Well, just really looking forward to seeing the guys come out here on the court, just see their body language and mannerisms and demeanor. It's really important what they heard there from Ryan Blake already this morning, and this is a big step for these guys. Obviously they're mature guys. They played 4 years in college, and they're looking to take that leap into professional basketball, and there's not really a better event than the PIT to do that because you get an intimate setting in front of every NBA team, lots of international representation here as well. The G League is heavily involved in the scouting of these guys, and with the addition this year of the two-way contract in the NBA, opportunities just really became available for guys in college seniors going into the pro ranks. So I'm really looking forward to just seeing how these guys come out and put on a good show physically, how they behave, the way they go about their business, and we'll get a good chance to see how that correlates tonight when they take the floor to play the games.
No, for sure. And for those that maybe this is their first time, hearing about the Portsmouth or watching the games, this event, obviously, like we said, this is the 66th year, so it's been going on for a long time. There's been a lot of great players that have rolled it through here. I mean, people remember Scottie Pippen. I mean, he came to this event. Jimmy Butler is one of the more recent guys that's come through. I mean, there's been multiple guys every year that have made the jump from this tournament. So the field of guys that fans are going to be able to see here is going to be pretty unique because you're going to see multiple, player of the years, defensive player of the years, a lot of first-team all-conference guys, and they're all going to be kind of thrown in to different teams, and we're asking them to play and see how they could do in a few days.
For sure, man. The talent level is off the charts, and I couldn't be more excited to see these guys play. We were talking last night, James, just about how this environment is really conducive to these guys getting to show what they can do and how their game will translate to the NBA because of the way the game is played, the game's officiated. They let these guys get after it, and I know some of these morning things can be a little meticulous and mundane, but this is very high-tech technology out here, and these guys are doing something that they may not have been able to do, and most of these guys won't be at the Combine in Chicago coming up in about a month from now. So this is their opportunity to get some things on paper, to show what they can do athletically and physically, how they match up with their peers. So it's really important what's going on this morning, and we'll really get, like I said earlier, I'm excited to put some names to faces because you get to see guys on TV, you get to see them on film, and you read about them online, but you don't really know until you see them up close and personal.
No, exactly. And then we were just talking about this yesterday, too. It's interesting. You might have a certain player that plays for a certain system in college, and they're told to do certain things. And then when they come out here, it's always cool to see, okay, their game kind of expands a little bit, and some guys are able to showcase more than what they did in college. But that's also a fine line, too, because, you want to come here and you want to showcase what you were good at in college and what got you here. You don't want to try to expand it too far. If you do that, you might hurt yourself a little bit.
Definitely. One thing Ryan Blake mentioned this morning was these guys aren't coming in to be the number 1 option for an NBA team, or even the number 4 option. They're coming in to be a role player, to fill a need for an NBA team, and all these guys are capable. They have the tools to get it done. And what are they going to bring to the table? Are they going to be a very good shooter? Are they going to be able to bang on the inside and rebound? Can they control a team, control the spacing, move the ball around, and get guys in position? So lots of opportunities, and they really do have a chance here to show what their niche may be at the NBA level. And if not the NBA, certainly in the G League, or, several international teams are going to be here, be present from many different countries, and those are big-time opportunities as well.
No, definitely, and as this broadcast this morning, goes, we'll get into more of the players we have represented. Again, we've got 4 of the teams. We've got 8 teams here in total, 8 players per team, and we'll have half of those guys, so 32 guys this morning. The same guys you'll see play tonight, which will be a 7 and 9 o'clock game. Make sure to tune back in tonight. Will be the same guys you'll see this morning. So before we get into some of those players, let's get in a little bit, Tyler, to tell the audience, tell the viewers what we're going to see, some of these tests that we're going to do here.
Yeah, no doubt. They'll have BAM athletic testing. BAM's a company that's done several events like this. They work with the NBA at the NBA Combine, and they've been here at the PIT for several years. And so you'll see things like the lane agility drill, where players will slide block to block, sprint up the lane line, slide down the free throw line, and backpedal back down to the baseline, which gives you an idea of the speed in which they can come over to help on defense, close off a driving lane, shuffle their feet to restrict a ball handler from getting to the basket, and other things that are valuable for both guards and forwards and big men as well. You also see a shuttle run, which is more like a traditional type of touch, slide run that you may see at an event like an NFL Combine, and gives you a good sense of a player's speed and quickness off the whistle, start to stop type of thing. We'll see a 3/4 court sprint, which I think that's a very important one in terms of basketball, because how quickly can a guy get from the baseline inside the opposite three-point line? That's where the game's played. It's played out in transition. It's played in the open court. And the guys that can streak down the floor, they're going to catch somebody's eye right away. We'll also see a vertical jump, which we got going on right now. I believe this is Team Cherry Beckert down there first. So we'll get to see the hops on some of these guys.
Oh, yeah. Good to see some of the bunnies. So, but I liked what you said, Tyler, too, especially with the 3/4 court sprint. Transition defense is so important at any level, but especially in the NBA level. So see who could get down court quickest, and then, the lane agility, how important that is because of the NBA rules with the defensive 3 seconds. So, a big guy especially, is he able to keep 1 foot in and be able to get out and be able to get over to the other side to help outside the paint is really key. So, but right now we've got the BAM testing guys are kind of showing, it's giving instructions to the players. I'm not sure if they're going to give instructions at each individual basket. I'm sure they'll break them up a little bit here, but
it looks like we have one team down there getting the instruction. We also have the monitors, the court monitors, taking a tour as well. We have the other teams should be in the back getting their gear on to come out and take the floor. And from what I've seen in the past, they'll just rotate station to station as a team. So every player per team, we have 4 teams here, like you said, will do each drill at once. And I think we have 4 drills, if I'm not mistaken. 5.
Yes. Yeah. Wait. And this is high-tech equipment, Tyler. I mean, this is
we got lights
big-time
going
stuff.
On. We got the green lights, the red lights, everything except this vertical jump is pretty high-tech. And, it's always pretty traditional anyways when you're trying to get a vertical test. Now they have some new sports science things, but this is old school, and it looks like we got our first guy here about to go.
Yeah, this looks like it might be – is this Kyle Washington, I believe, from
Cincy? Yes, sir.
Yes, and Kyle, get ready to see somebody jump because Kyle's a big-time athlete. He actually started his career, Tyler, at NC State. And I believe, well,
they faked us out.
They
Just
did.
A pump fake.
They
Just
did.
A pump fake.
They
now
did.
We're going to go to the next to the lane agility, and we're going to get the rundown on the lane agility.
And Tyler, this might be more than one team because each team has 8 guys, and there's more than 8 guys there. So while we're trying to figure out, this morning we're gonna be a little bit trying to
Yeah,
figure
just
out
hang
each
with us.
guy
Hang
because
with
we
us.
don't have they don't have their jerseys on. So we're gonna try to match up. A lot of these guys are wearing their school colors or their
Yeah,
school
that makes it
shirts,
good.
so that makes it a little easier for us. But you know, keep that in mind as we're trying to figure out things this morning.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we've got plenty that we can talk about, we can break down, we can discuss. And so we'll keep it pretty casual. We'll get to watch these guys. Once the action starts, you will get to see some really neat feats of athleticism and get to see how these guys jump and run and move. But like we said early, we're just kind of up here observing. We want to see how the guys pay attention, see how they follow instruction. And, I'm sure there's some nerves involved with these guys because it is an opportunity for them to be in front of NBA guys. Right now, the gym is quiet and they're going through their testing, so it's good for them to have an opportunity to kind of get their feet underneath them. When they come back tonight to play the games, they'll have already been on the court. They've already moved around, got a little sweat going, and you should see their confidence really exude right away once the games start.
No, and Tyler, it's interesting, Tyler. We talk about how well can they adjust, and I talk to guys about that all the time. As a professional player, it's key. You know, how well you could do as a pro is how well you could adjust to certain situations. And this is a situation right now. These guys have been playing. All these guys, mind you, are 4-year college players or 5-year, but they're all seniors. We don't have any underclassmen here. You have to be a senior to get invited to Portsmouth. So if some of you guys are wondering, well, why is it so and so here? It's only seniors.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys have been in the same place for 4 years if they've stayed at the same school, but they've been in college for a while. They've understood that. Well, now this is that next step. How well are you going to adjust to this pro-level stuff? And this is their first test right here in this gym.
Absolutely. Another unique thing about this group of players, it's almost like you have to accept the challenge to be here because these guys were handpicked. They were invited. There's a list of players. James, you've been involved in the player selection process in the past, or at least the players that are on prospects to be invited. And so some guys turn it down, and you may have some good insider perspective on, for one, why they turn it down, but for two, what consequences may come up but for passing up an opportunity like this to get out here and show what you can do.
Yeah, no, I mean it's one of those things where it's a constant. Some of these guys that you're not going to see are maybe guaranteed first-round picks. They've been told by certain people, whether it's an agent, whether it's a coach, certain people, hey, you don't really need to attend Portsmouth because you're already you're going to be drafted first round. But now, I mean, Tyler, how it is. I mean, now with all the underclassmen coming in with the internationals, there's been less and less seniors that are first-round picks. So I think that makes Portsmouth even more important for these guys to come. You've got all 30 NBA teams represented. You've got multiple NBA G League teams here. You've got a host of international scouts and coaches here. So the opportunity to perform is so important. And there are a lot of guys, I feel like, that have turned this event down, whether it be this year, previous years, and they've probably regretted it because this could give you, like you said, too, Chicago pre-drafts coming up in a month. For a lot of these guys, this is their best chance to get invited to that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this is a really can't-miss opportunity because the accommodations are covered. You get to come out here and perform in front of an abundance of decision makers and people who are going to be evaluating your game and giving suggestions to their teams on what you can bring to the table. And with the addition of this two-way contract, it really makes it so important to be available, to be present, to get out there and be seen because those two-way guys a lot of times are going to be dependable guys that they're tough, they're mature, they're strong. College seniors are great candidates to be a two-way player, and you really can see what you're getting when you come out here and see these guys D up and knock down threes and rebound and run the floor and do the things that you want to see out of these kind of glue guy type players. So it's very valuable for sure.
Well, Tyler, remind us again. Some of the listeners may not be very familiar with the two-way player since that's, this was the first year it was instituted. So tell us again, an overview of how the two-way contract is done.
Yeah, so last year the NBA expanded their rosters to 17 players. Number 16 and number 17 are going to be what is considered a two-way contract guy. So those guys are going to bounce back and forth from the G League to the NBA. They will have a set number of days that they can play in the NBA. They also get paid an NBA compensation for playing those days with the NBA, but it's different from the traditional assignment player that's become pretty common in the G League, where you assign a guy from the NBA to the G League to be there on a set assignment, whether it's for practice, for games, for both, and then return back to the NBA, and the whole time receiving their NBA paycheck, receiving their NBA per diem on the travel. Now it's a little bit different with these two-way players. It gives teams options to bring in guys that have potential and certainly are worthy of a look, but that can also be counted on to play in an NBA game on a moment's notice because of an injury may come up or resting a guy or whatever the case may be. You'll have a chance to thrust this guy into your lineup. So for us, for Phoenix, we had a little bit of a unique situation. We didn't take any PIT guys as a two-way player, but we started the year with Mike James, who is an international really sensation. He's been scoring a lot of points overseas for a lot of years, and he came in right off the bat, played his 45 days with the Phoenix Suns, and didn't participate in the G League. He was one of the only guys to do it that way. But once his number of days were he reached his limit, we brought in Daniel House, who was a great player from Texas A&M, and a really productive guy. And this was his second season as a pro. And we had Alec Peters, who was a second-round draft pick out of Valparaiso, and Al really benefited from the situation, from the two-way assignment. But another guy that we had in Phoenix was Davon Reed. And now Davon was here last year and really performed well and earned a second-round pick in the NBA. And so he was on NBA contract with the Phoenix Suns. He was assigned to the Northern Arizona Suns on several occasions to rehab an injury and to get minutes and build his stamina back up to be put back into the Suns rotation. And, Davon really benefited from his time here. So we'll get into it a lot more as we go through this week. It's a little confusing for the people who may not know the difference between just a rookie who's being assigned to the G League or to a two-way contracted player. But the bottom line is that's 60 more spots that are now available in the NBA, 2 per team, 30 teams, and that's opportunity, man. So the guys that are here really are going to put themselves in good position to receive, a two-way contract.
No, for sure, and like you said, that's 60 new jobs that were essentially created. So that's big. Let's talk, Tyler, a little bit about the international flavor here. We've got the Italian league, Serie A. They're big as far as they've done a great job of attending this event in the past. I would expect to see multiple teams represented. Israel usually sends some teams.
Yep.
Germany, BBL, sends a host of teams, and then one of our personal favorites, the Korean League, the KBL.
Yep,
they're always here.
South Korea.
South Korea League is a great option for a lot of players. High pay. The league is pretty good. It's had some recent rule changes that we could get into, but they've always taken several guys from this event. It seems like every year.
Yeah, the international flavor here is very interesting because it's great for these guys, especially for like you mentioned, Italy coming out here, and these GMs come and watch and study these players because it gives them an opportunity to get the inside scoop, to see them up close and personal, but also to add to their roster, to sign younger guys for a bargain deal most of the time, and really put some athleticism or shooting or whatever it may be, size, into their rotation, into their organization. And so they really, really come here with high expectations of finding that kind of guy that can sign a contract right away. They can take the jump if that's what they want to do. With a country like South Korea, when they come out here, they're almost projecting long term because that is a veteran-laden league. They've got a lot of American players that have been there for multiple seasons, that are dependable, that can be relied on, and that are familiar. Now they come out here for PIT, and this is uh, you know, my fourth year being here, and they're now signing guys from 4 years ago to go play in Korea. And so it's a long-term thing. It's something where they come and get an idea, put a name to a face, and evaluate a game. But then they monitor that player for the next several seasons to see how if they've plateaued, if they're still growing, and where they're going to take it from here.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's some great points you made too, Tyler, about the long term, because several of the clubs here, they are projecting that way. So, but we're gonna take a short break here, Tyler, while the players get stretched, and we'll be back in a few minutes once they get started.
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth.
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. That's what happens when you're an urban core of Hampton Roads, the gateway to America's heartland. Portsmouth sits center stage in a region comprised of 17 municipalities. Situated on one of the deepest natural harbors on the Intracoastal Waterway, you can access Portsmouth via an improved infrastructure connecting our roads, tunnels, railways, waterways, and people. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. From our historic seaport and waterfront to our wildlife preserves, Portsmouth sets the standard for the conservation of these natural habitats. Everybody's talking about the increase of maritime-related service companies that located here last year, a direct result of the expansion of Virginia's ports and the economic growth in Portsmouth and the state. We've got so much to talk about. The Portsmouth Marine Terminal transports nearly 200,000 containers annually. Calmar USA, Inc., a cargo handling solutions business, is expanding its footprint in Portsmouth, bringing new jobs and diversifying the commercial mix in the Midtown Business District. Business is booming in Portsmouth. Everybody's talking about the high-quality lifestyle Portsmouth offers. Access a lifestyle that boasts abundant walking communities, with tree-lined bike lanes, neighborhoods with diverse architectural styles, and access to all kinds of shopping, right here in Portsmouth. Planning a visit? The Renaissance Portsmouth Waterfront Hotel, owned and operated by Charmaine Hotels, will remain open during its multi-million-dollar modernization renovation. The 249-room conference hotel boasts a spacious outdoor terrace that provides scenic and expansive views of the world's largest natural deep-water harbor, making it the jewel of the Elizabeth River. Guess what else everybody's talking about? Later this summer, old meets new again as Portsmouth recreates Portside with a new outdoor structure complete with food and beverage vendors and the hottest weekday concert series, Sunset Thursdays, beginning June 7. Keep your sights locked. Everybody's talking about the $100 million in new and redeveloped multifamily housing downtown and how Portsmouth is attracting both millennials and empty nesters. Additional multifamily housing units have also been proposed for the Victory Square area of the city. Come home to Portsmouth, where you can enjoy a relaxing and scenic boat ride along the Elizabeth River, Scotts Creek, or any of the other connected rivers, canals, and sounds. Everybody's talking about our museum scene and how the city's Union Bank and Trust Pavilion attracts national musical acts. Access a workforce that is well-educated, dependable, and trainable, as well as access a varied customer base. Income levels in the city are growing faster than the state and national averages. Everybody's talking about our schools. Portsmouth Public Schools added 4 new career and technical education courses, including cybersecurity, sports medicine, and TV production. And our young people can earn industry certification in any of these fields, which will help them find work. Portsmouth Public Schools expanded its STEM program by launching an augmented virtual reality lab at IC Norcom High School, enabling students to don goggles and use computer software to study earth science and biology. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth's new workforce development program, Hire Portsmouth, a partnership with the public school system, the City of Portsmouth, Opportunity Inc., and major employers. Access to quality health care is critical to a high-quality lifestyle. Last year, the Naval Medical Center Portsmouth celebrated the anniversary of its first building, affectionately called Building 1. Building 1's history dates back to the 1700s. The hospital's main campus is home to more than 5,000 men and women who provide an array of healthcare services for our armed forces, their families, and military retirees. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard is one of the largest in the world, specializing in ship repair, overhauling, and modernization. In 2017, Portsmouth celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. An important past, a vital future. Bon Secours Maryview Medical Center was named one of the nation's 50 top cardiovascular hospitals by IBM Watson Health. And everybody's talking about Maryview's addition of the state-of-the-art Da Vinci surgical system to its surgical robotics capabilities. Always engaged in the good health of the Portsmouth community, the Maryview Foundation Health Center treated 1,000 patients last year and helped them to receive $10.9 million in medications. Today, Portsmouth's retail districts feature everything from breweries and distilleries to boutiques and specialty shops to fine dining, new fast food chains, grocery stores, and fitness centers. Looking to relocate your business or start a new one? Portsmouth should be top of mind. 2 Virginia enterprise zones, small business incentive programs, a proposed technology zone, newly created office space, and strategic development sites in the city. Yeah, people are talking about Portsmouth, from the local media to the governor's mansion, talking about a brighter future in Portsmouth. Discover what all the buzz is about. Take the ferry, drive through newly renovated tunnels, take the MLK connector or I-264, and visit Portsmouth. Spend the day, bring the family, and make some memories. There's always something happening on this, the right side of the river.
All right, welcome back to the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, commonly known as the PIT. I am James Blackburn, here again with Tyler Gatlin, and we are here at Churchill High School in Virginia watching the combine testing. So we've got, again, 32 players, and you guys now are starting to see on your view some of the players running through. And Tyler, like you just said, we've got 3 players per group, it looks like.
Yeah, 3 guys per station. They're rotating around. They're warming some guys up on the side. We're about to see the 3-quarter sprint here. We're seeing some lane agility on the left side. On the right side, we've got the reaction shuttle. Straight ahead, we've got the vertical jump. And underneath the vertical, above the vertical jump sign, you can see BAM, the BAM logo here. And they're obviously in charge of this portion of the event. And, they really do a good job. I know you've seen them as well, James.
Yeah, no, they're big. They're based out of Seattle, Washington, and like we've already mentioned, they do the Chicago pre-draft combine, and they've trained. They do other sports too, Tyler, as well. They mentioned cricket and some other things like that. I mean, they're really well known. Everybody in the NBA's heard of them. Different sports like that. And they're really high tech. I mean, you see all the lights, you see all the different testings. Guys have, they're holding different things. They've got bracelets that's testing, how quick. It's really, really precise system.
Yeah, this kind of assessment is it's really instrumental. It's an instrumental component for establishing kind of a benchmark of what's important, what's good, what qualifies as a successful time or a successful jump. And having this technology available for the NBA is very extremely critical. It's basically a requirement now these days that when you get the specs on a player, it's not just height and weight. It's wingspan, it's lane agility speed, it's three-quarter court sprint speed, it's their vertical. Vertical is the more traditional one that's been around the longest, but these drills now, they're incorporating what you see in other sports. You see these in the NFL Combine. You're starting to see it a lot more in the NBA now. And here at the PIT, I think they were even a little bit ahead of the curve because they've been working with BAM several years now. And for these players, these athletes, it's an opportunity to really kind of get some cool things done that they may have done bits and pieces here in high school or throughout their college. They may have had some testing done, but this is legit. This is the stuff that's going to go on their profile. It's going to be distributed to scouts at home and abroad, and it's really going to stick with them, throughout the season. So they got to put their best foot forward. This is their one and only shot that they get. I think they get two reps, 2 attempts per drill to set a good time. But these guys right here are setting the benchmarks that we talked about. And so we have we have 16 players out on the floor. The other 2 teams came in. So there's 32 total players here, and they're rotating baskets and stations as we go. So
Yeah, and we've got some of the guys we can start talking about. We just saw Peyton Aldridge. You see him. He just went on the vertical testing. The red shirt is the shirt he was wearing. And Peyton Aldridge, Tyler, is a guy that I love to talk about because I'm from North Carolina, and he's from Davison College. So we'll talk about him in a few minutes. We've got a host of players running through these drills. Right now we've got
we got a lot going on out here.
Manu Lecomte from Baylor. He's a 5'11" guard that you're watching. He was actually all-conference this year at Baylor, and he's attempting his second jump at the vertical. Pretty good player. Actually has some international experience, Tyler. Averaged over 16 points a game. Really shot the ball well, 38% from outside. So we'll see how he does, tonight.
Yeah, and at 22 years old, that's a good age for an incoming professional athlete. He's got some experience. He's played in a high-level program like Baylor for 4 years. He shot the ball really good. He can make plays for others, and it's a chance for him, for being an undersized guard, to show that he's out here and that he's mature. He can make plays. He can handle himself against pressure, and he can also apply pressure to the ball in the backcourt.
Yeah, and it's interesting. He's actually with a group. Right now their group is with the lane agility, and he's with 2 big guys. We already talked about Peyton Aldridge in the red shirt. In the gray shirt right there, we have Thomas Welch, who I believe is one of the tallest players here in attendance. There's not many 7-footers, but he is one of them. He's a 7-footer out of
conference player.
UCLA, so former McDonald's All-American. One of the most acclaimed players here was actually an All-American this year, too. And he could go. I mean, he's double averaged in college. Actually shot 40% from 3, which is something now that's real important for especially in the NBA to be able to shoot from outside as a big. So you're watching him now, the lane agility, move his feet, and this is something real important for a guy like him.
It is, especially for a guy like Thomas, because he's played in that UCLA program. They made a good run last year, and he was kind of the senior leadership this year. They counted on him to do a lot. He showed what he can do. He really does have the ability to shoot the basketball, not only from the mid-range, but also stretching it out to 3. He's effective pick-and-pop player. He's getting a chance to prove that he has that athleticism, that he is able to be a rim protector and battle inside. We'll see him compete with some other physical big guys here throughout the week. And see what his weapons are, because is he going to be a guy that you throw the ball into the post? Maybe. Is he going to be a very effective transition player, shoot the ball from behind the perimeter, put it on the ground and pull up and shoot? very possibly. But the big question is he going to be able to hold his own around the rim, under the boards, ending possessions with rebounds, throwing the outlet passes. He comes from a great program with a very, very prestigious tradition of bigs like a Bill Walton, like a Kevin Love, who can clear the boards and outlet it and then run and knock down shots and make plays for others. So I'm real excited to see Thomas not only right here this morning move around and show what he can do physically and athletically, but especially tonight when the game tips off. I'm sure he's going to be a key part to the Cherry Beckert squad.
No, and I love bigs, Tyler, at this tournament because we already mentioned they really let him play, and I love that, and I know all the scouts love that because some of the biggest complaints about the college game is the constant fouling. There's not a lot of flow in the game, but here there's tons of flow. Bigs catch the ball, bigs have room to operate. And they let him bang down there. I mean, they let him get physical. So a big guy like him, 250 pounds, he's got to have a shot. So right now we've got Peyton Aldridge. Again, he's going to be going. Tyler, I don't know if you've had a chance to see him play, but he's, of course, coming from Davison, school of Steph Curry went to. That's what people know Davison is by. But I had a chance to see him play at least 20 times during his career and live. And
wow, well, you go ahead and tell me about him, James.
Yeah, he could shoot the three ball really, really well. High level 3-point shooter, could really score it on the block. Has an inside outside game, pick and pop guy. More athletic than you would think. He moves pretty well. He runs the floor really hard, plays hard, really rebounds it, pretty gritty. So if he could come to an event like this and shoot the ball like he did at Portsmouth from the NBA line, I think he's got a shot at a two-way contract. So.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the key. The stats kind of tell the story with him in terms of what you're saying. He's got the ability to be a very dynamic shooter from that 15 to 18-foot range. And in terms of the college programs, sometimes you don't get the total freedom just to stretch your range and show what you can do from the perimeter, shooting the ball from deep. And an opportunity here that he has this week is going to be great for Peyton to show his range, to show that he can be an effective three-point shooter at the NBA level because it's really, really, really relied upon these days. You know it, James. The guys that can attack the basket, the guys that can get to the free throw line at a high rate, and the guys that can knock down the three ball, they can really fit into some of these high-octane systems that are getting a lot of recognition and are really changing the game for the good. I know we like to keep it old school, James, but we have to keep in mind that the game is becoming a more fast-paced, more space-oriented game, and the players that can keep up are really going to find that opportunities are going to be readily available for them.
No, for sure. And so it looks like now they're doing the rotations again. And again, we've got groups of three. One group I want to focus on right now, Tyler, is the group, again, that's at the lane agility. And we've got two big-time athletes in this group. We've got the gentleman you'll see in the all-black that's about to go. That's Kyle Washington out of Cincinnati, the American Conference, one of the most underrated leagues, I think, in the country. And he actually started at NC State. So I saw him multiple times in college. Really vocal guy, high-energy guy. Big-time athlete. He'll probably be one of the best athletes here. Kind of a undersized guy a little bit, I'd say, for the NBA level at the 4 position. He could stretch the floor a little bit. That's something he's worked on is his three-point shot, but I see him as more of a mid-range guy at this point. But an event like this that really lets the guys play, get up and down, and get physical, this is his wheelhouse. I mean, I think he could be a guy that really jumps off the page for these scouts here. And it's all about energy for a lot of these bigs, and he's got it. He's got energy and a high motor.
No doubt. You talk about Kyle Washington, and right away you see that he has presence. He's a big kid. He's got broad shoulders. He moves around well. He takes up space on the floor. We see him going here through the lane agility, showing that he moves well, showing that he can make these sharp cuts, going full out, going full speed. I mean, he's working as hard as he can right now to show what he can do, to prove any doubters or any naysayers that may not think he can bring it from a speed standpoint, to prove them wrong. And we're going to get to see what he can do when the games tip off. But right off the bat, he's a guy that you see, hey, he's a big kid. He moves around well. He's got that presence that we talked about. And this is a great opportunity for Kyle because They utilized him in the post some with Cincinnati and not as much as a picker and diver, which in the NBA that's certainly what he projects, as a guy that can set screens, dive to the rim, catch it, finish above it, and really set a tone as a guy that can be a factor at the rim and on the boards.
No, definitely, and we just saw the other guy in that group. That's Justin Tillman, I believe. That's Justin Tillman out of VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University.
Yeah,
here, a
is.
local kid here in the state, and he's another guy. 6'8", put up 19 and 10 this year at VCU. But I was able to see him last year a couple of times, and very similar to Kyle. High energy guy, big time athlete, really good rebounder. I mean, really, really good rebounder. Doesn't quite have the range that Kyle has, but he's a consistent guy, 8 to 10 feet. He's got a good form. I could actually see him extending his range as he gets, older and gets more comfortable out there. But, again, one of those high-energy, high-motor bigs that are a little undersized, maybe that 6'7" to 6'8" range of the four that may not be a pick and pop for, but in an event like this where they let you get up and down, I mean, this is where these guys can make a name for themselves.
I mean, you said it. Two things that teams really look for guys in Justin's position and in Justin's body type is consistency and effort. If he can bring those, if he can bring a high motor, if he can be consistent with his performance and the way that he plays the game, he's really going to open some eyes. He finishes well with both hands. He protects the ball. He plays under control, and he's shown the ability to stretch his game. He's got a nice touch, nice form. He seems to be a very coachable young man, and Justin's surely a prospect that will garner some attention here throughout the week. We'll get to see how he performs when he's going up against other talented players in similar situations, similar positions to him, and that's where we're really going to get the excitement when these guys start competing and really start playing, because everybody's out here is battling for a job, battling for an opportunity, trying to start their career on the right foot. The path is going to be different, certainly for every one of these players, but it's very promising. These guys have already taken a positive step in the direction of their career by showing up, by being here, by being present, and by being fully engaged, and they're really going to open some doors that they may otherwise have not gotten to open should they have passed on the invitation to be here or something like that.
Yes, and I'm just trying to right now. I'm trying to point out players that I recognize. Again, we don't have jerseys on right now with numbers, so I was able to see a majority of these guys in college, Tyler. But sometimes it's a little tougher when they're not in their uniforms. So another guy I recognize right now that's about to go through the vertical testing is Justin Johnson out of Western Kentucky. And Justin Johnson is, again, it seems to be my favorite type of guy. He's a 6'7", undersized four-man. He's not quite the athlete as Justin and Kyle, okay, that we just talked about, but he's really, really strong. He's got a great frame to him, loves to bang inside, got a pretty good post game. I saw him last year several times live. He just went through people in college, Tyler. I mean, just went right through them. Again, he's high energy, really good rebounder. Could stretch it out to about 15 to 18 feet. Doesn't really have the three-point range yet. But, it's going to be fun to watch him and Justin Tibbs or, Justin Tillman and Kyle Washington. Some of these guys really bang inside. It's going to be fun to watch that.
Yeah, and on that note, James, you're at college games throughout the whole year. You go to the tournaments. You've built relationships with college coaches throughout the country in almost every program. And the guys are out here, and they're in a different environment than we're used to. They don't have their practice jerseys on. They're not playing in the games. The box scores aren't right in front of us. And it's the same as myself. You get to watch college games, certainly try to stay in the loop. But nothing beats seeing them out here. And this is almost it's almost better because it really kind of gives everybody a clean slate, a chance to come in relatively unknown to the people that are watching. And what can you do? How can you catch somebody's eye? Is it going to be your professionalism, your approach, the way you walk into the gym, the energy that exudes off you when you enter a building, or is it going to be a quick burst setting a record on the vertical jump or sprinting the three-quarter sprint faster than anybody sprinted it before. So, some guys can kind of catch you off guard because they may have a sleepy demeanor, and then when it's their chance to run, boom, they're the fastest guy here. And at the same time, other guys may do everything right. They may come in and be sharp and professional and on point and do the drills great and very technically proficient and sound, but when the lights come on, sometimes they don't get it done. So
allergic to the popcorn, Tyler.
Exactly, man. They've got that popcorn allergy, and some of them really have a tough time with that. But I think as a whole, we've got a good group of kids, of young athletes that are out here. They're all in more or less the same position. They have a chance to prove. Some have more accolades than others, so you'll get the guys that may feel like their back's against the wall a little bit and they've got something to prove, and that's great because they'll come out with that aggressive mindset to really try to get on the map and put a stamp on this event. We see my man here doing the lane agility. He's really getting after it, James.
Justin. Yeah, he plays hard, and that was good. Tyler talked about a little bit of what teams are looking for, but even more than that, what gets you noticed. And it's funny, I always talk to high school players and AAU players. What could get you noticed? One thing is real simple. What I told you about Justin Tillman, how vocal he is. You come to an event like this, there could be fans here, but it's not going to be near as many as these guys are used to playing in front of. So the gyms could be a lot quieter, and you've got all the decision makers, like we said, all the NBA teams, international scouts, they're here. If you are loud on the floor and you communicate and talk, especially as a big, you could get noticed right away. I mean, that's something to get you on the map, and from that point, then you have to back it up with your play. But that's going to separate you. I mean, we've got 64 guys here, which, yes, it's a small number, but at the same time, there's all these guys could play. I mean, you're not playing against any bums.
As the game has evolved, especially here domestically in the States, in the NBA, in the NBA G League, one of the most valuable assets you can bring is a presence defensively. How do you guard the pick and roll? Do you communicate it? Can you switch it aggressively up and into the ball? Can you hold your own, whether you're defending a guard, a forward, a big guy? Now, internationally, they still like the more traditional big, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It actually benefits them because there is no defense at 3 seconds. The game is a little bit more methodical. They really put a high emphasis on rim protection, on playing the game around the basket, off the blocks, in the mid-post, from the elbows. The NBA is really spread out. There's always corners filled. There's a guy in a slot. There may be a trail big. There may be a big running up from underneath the basket to set the screen. But at the end of the day, after the motion offense is stalled, it goes right into a spread pick and roll. And the ability to defend that, for one, it starts with the communication. And the guys that are out here that you can hear, that you hear their voice, that they're on point, that they're communicating it early, loud, and often, and they're not afraid to switch, those are going to be the guys that really are taken note of, because just that, it's a fundamental aspect of the game now to be able to switch that pick and roll and stifle a guard late in the shot clock and keep that guy out of the paint.
No, and that was, what you alluded to there a second ago, too, is, stuff, the differences between the international game, the G League game, and the NBA game. And that's something we'll be talking more about as we go on, especially when the games start. Some of these players, their games are going to be more, they're going to translate better to the NBA game as they would, better. And then some of the guys will translate better to the international game. But we haven't talked much about the guards out here, Tyler. I didn't recognize a lot of these guys, but one guy that stood out to me was Jordan McLaughlin out of USC. You just saw him a second ago. He is now, let's see here, he is rotating, so he should be at, again, the lane agility group. He's got the red shirt on that says USC. But he was all conference this year, Pac-12 guy, 6'1". But what really jumped off the page to me is he averaged almost 8 assists a game, Tyler. And that's so important at an event like this. We've got so many guys that have put up big scoring numbers, a lot of 20-point, 18-point per game scorers. A lot of these guys are used to being the man on their team as far as the guy that they throw the ball to when they want to get a bucket. And a guy like him, when he comes here, I know from talking to the Portsmouth committee, they love guys that can come here and aren't necessarily looking or hunting for their own offense, but they're going to spread the ball around, get other guys involved. And guys, I know he's going to be playing on the sales system team. He's got one player on his team, Jock Landau out of St. Mary's, averaged 21 points a game. Those bigs are going to love playing with a guard like him.
Yeah. Being out in the Phoenix area for me, of course, you get to see some Pac-12 basketball. And Jordan was a guy that every time I got to see USC play, he was doing something special. He's a better shooter than you might expect for a guy who passes so much. And when he gets in isolation situations, he can take it in and he can score over big guys. He can power through some guards. He's really got a strong frame. He's only 6'1", 170 at listed, but he's got some explosiveness to his game that he's able to put on display. And I have a feeling he's going to grade out well in these combine drills. He translates, his game translates to the type of guy who could be in consideration for one of those two-way contracts, because he does his playmaking out of the pick and roll. He's effective at it. He knows how, when like we were talking about the defense switching, he knows how to operate against a switch by spacing the floor and then breaking his guy down off the dribble. And he doesn't settle for tough contested twos. He likes to get to the rim. He likes to get to the free throw line. And the NBA allows him to get that space. We were just saying how some guys are more suited for international. Some guys are more suited for the U.S. Just from what I've seen, which isn't a lot, James, but we're going to get to see him here certainly this week. Jordan is a guy who translates to the NBA G League. The international game sometimes can get a little more clogged, more congested, and just by the way this guy plays and passes the ball and finds open teammates, you can tell when he has space, he eats it up, and he's about to take off here next on the lane agility, and we'll see what we're talking about in terms of Jordan having the speed to move around the court, and he looks like he's putting his all into it. He really cuts off those cones well, especially when he goes into his slide.
Yeah, and it's just for the viewership, those that may not be as familiar with the international game, it's different with every player, but just some big points as far as guys that maybe you see here that aren't as athletic, but may have, let's talk about maybe a big that's more interior oriented, that's, maybe not the most athletic guy, but maybe a bigger, more physical guy. His game will most likely will translate better to the international game, especially some of the higher leagues in Europe, maybe than the G League game, where it's a really, really up and down athletic league. I've told people a lot of times I think the NBA G League is actually more athletic, or the athleticism is higher than the NBA game. It's one of the most athletic leagues in the world. But then, again, you've got some guys like Jordan that are, pass first guys that are really quick. They could benefit from the spacing. Rather in, an international game, they're most likely going after bigger guards, more physical. The game over there, they don't have the hand check rules we have here in the U.S. You're able to steer players down the court. And they also want their guards to score a little bit, too. It's great if you could pass. They want that. They kind of want you to be somebody of all trades, a jack of all trades. But they definitely want scoring. So a guy like Jordan, I agree. I think his game's really built for the, to stay here in the U.S. So I think we're just about wrapped up here, Tyler, with our first group. It looks like guys are kind of waiting at their baskets, waiting for everybody to finish up. And we've got the next 16 guys sitting in the bleachers that are about to come up. And that will be, I believe, Mike Duman Auto Sales and Portsmouth Partnership, I believe, is the next two teams. These two teams, by the way, are Cherry Beckert and Sales System, who, it's interesting, they're actually going to be playing each other tonight, and they're doing their testing together. So I wonder if some of these guys will be scouting out the other players a little bit to see who might be a little faster than others, who might be able to jump a little bit higher.
Yeah, no doubt. And we talk about the importance of what's going on here. You may think off first glance, well, hey, it's an empty gym. That's because everybody's watching us. No, but in all seriousness, the NBA guys are going to come in. They've certainly have a busy schedule. It's the last day of the NBA regular season. There's an event going on in Oregon right now that's really high level, Nike-sponsored event that is a lot of high school athletes. both internationally and domestic. And then these guys here are up early. They're getting in the gym, and all of this stuff that BAM is providing is going to be clearly documented and distributed tonight when the gym is going to be full and rocking, and guys are able to see what a guy does, how he makes a play, what kind of impact he's making on the game, and quickly follow up that information with their specs here from the combine testing. So this stuff is not going to go unnoticed just because people aren't here. I assume tomorrow there may be a few more faces in the gym in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, they're going to have a lot of opportunity to see these guys and see what they do. And, for me, this is an opportunity that I have that maybe some other scouts don't get, because I'm certainly really involved in the scouting process of the events like the Portsmouth Invitational, and what we can do from an organizational standpoint in terms of adding talent and potential summer league guys, potential affiliate players, potential two-way contract guys, and most importantly probably the NBA draft.
Yeah, no, definitely. And right now it looks like the first group has just exited. This would normally be the time, Tyler, that I would be going to the hospitality room.
Yeah, man.
Here, that's one of the best things I look forward to every week. The hospitality room at the Portsmouth Invitational is probably that's in my first team all conference hospitality rooms out of all events I go to. So I'm super looking forward to that. But with that being said, I think we are going to take a short break here, and we'll be back on the other side.
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. Everybody's talking about Portsmouth. Woo!
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth.
Woo! Everybody.
Everybody's
Everybody's
talking about me.
Probably the hot chocolate should be all right.
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth.
Everybody's talking about Portsmouth.
There's a place where imaginations are sparked, where curiosity's reward is laughter, where history comes to play, and entertainment choices are many. With all tunnels now open in both directions, Portsmouth is now so very easy to reach. We invite you to eat, play, shop, and stay. All tunnels are now open. Rediscover your neighbor, Portsmouth.
Welcome back to Netcast Sports here We are at the combine section of the Portsmouth Invitational event, and we appreciate everyone out there following and listening right now and watching on Netcast Sports. Make sure you follow Netcast on Twitter. We'll be giving a lot of updates throughout the week, with not only times of games, but also players, different, stats, different things that are going on at this event. So stay tuned to not only the Portsmouth, Twitter, but also to the Netcast Twitter as well, to make sure you get into all the games.
Netcast has been on top of it since the list of players started trickling out. You can see their Twitter handle right there on the screen. It's really a good setup here for us, James. We've got everything we need. We're perched up here in the rafters. We've got a great view of the floor. We can see everything that happens. Nothing's going to get by us. And we've got a new set of teams coming out here. These are going to be Mike Duman Auto Sales and Portsmouth Partnership. Real quick before we get into too much, James, why don't you just give us a little rundown about these team names, because some people may catch them off guard should they not have heard them before. But they're the same every year, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is my 7th Portsmouth in a row, and they have not changed in the 7 years. I don't know if they've changed in the last 66 years. I could be wrong about that. But what they are, area businesses in the Portsmouth area that sponsor a team. So when they do put on their jerseys tonight, they seem to be the same colors every year, and they just say the team name on it, and then they'll have the player's name on the back. But that's what they are. They're area, local businesses,
Yep.
And it's locally sponsored, which is cool to see.
So we have 8 teams. We've seen 2 already and 2 more here, but let's just run them down. We have Cherry Beckert, Sales System Ltd., Mike Duman Auto Sales, Portsmouth Partnership, Portsmouth Sports Club, K&D Rounds Landscaping, Norfolk Sports Club, and last but not least, Roger Brown's.
Yeah, Roger Brown's is my personal favorite, not because of their basketball team, but of course because it's the area restaurant in town. It's a sports bar right downtown Portsmouth, and they've taken, this event, this is like their Christmas time. I mean, they get more people that come to their restaurant. They've taken, I know, a chunk of my salary every year. But the best, awesome food. Great spot to go. I think, we end up hanging out there every night, it seems like, after the event. I know me and you have spent countless hours at Roger Brown's. And what's funny about it is kind of ironic. They always seem to have a pretty good team here, too. So
Yes. Yeah, Roger Brown's is certainly a staple here in Portsmouth, Virginia. It's a really unique mix of characters and cast when you go there after the PIT games, because we've been sitting in the gym all day watching these guys play, and you get such a wide variety of basketball personnel at the restaurant, and people let loose and put their guard down a little bit once the day has concluded and everybody's there breaking bread and having some fun. So you get a great mix of old timers, of legends, of agents, of international clubs, of guys like you and me trying to make it, James, and you have a cool sense of camaraderie and accomplishment, because it's not easy to sit here all day long watch basketball, man. It's a tough life.
Somebody's got to do it, Tyler. It's a tough life to watch basketball up here. But I've been known in my day to have 2 or 3 dinners a night. You hit up a hospitality room right when it opens. You might hit it up again in the 4th quarter of the last game, and then of course you got Roger Brown's later. So me and World B, Wayne Otto, I do. Wayne World B Otto, if you're listening. I know he's going to be on the program later this week doing a couple of games.
He will grace us with his presence, and be prepared. Be prepared, ladies and gentlemen.
He is a Hall of Fame character, World B Otto. So I have learned from the best. I've been one of his tutors, or he's been my tutor under his tutelage, I should say. Of finding great restaurants. Me and you went to a good spot last night, Tyler, right there at Virginia Beach.
El Giardino. It was amazing. We went down to the beach to soak in the ocean,
the cold
air
weather,
and a little bit of chilliness. But we sat down and ate and had a great time. Got to catch up. We get to see each other, James, throughout the course of the season at various events, but it really turns up in the summertime or in the off season, because we can come here to Portsmouth and make connections and catch up. but we can also start to look forward to the things that we have ahead, like in late June, your pro combine, your pro day. That's been a staple for what I've done each summer, and then as well as the NBA Summer League and things like that. So this is really the time that you and I get to work together, because during the season we're both busy. We do our things, and we've caught each other at events like the G League Showcase, and we may, whenever certainly we come to Greensboro, to your hood, and play the Swarm, we're able to dine and have a good time. But this is what it's all about, man. Getting a chance to spend a week here, seeing some prospective pros, and really take it all in and enjoy the community that we're here with. So.
Well, I wouldn't mind if they made this a 2 or 3 week event, Tyler.
Easy now. I got places to be.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned the event in June, Tyler. This year, me and Marcus are actually partnering on the pro day. It's going to be the Pro Basketball Circuit Combine the end of June. And Tyler, I believe you're going to be there, as long as a few other G League coaches, European coaches. And we will have the website up for that here in a few days to a week at the latest. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Basketball Elite, who's a sister company of Netcast. Also, Netcast Sports is going to be filming the event and live streaming it to international teams. So that's going to be something we're really looking forward to. And
well, let me tell you, it's a primo event for any players out there that might be listening, free agents, college guys that have graduated. This is a way to really launch your career on the right track. Good coaches, really great organization. You get guest speakers, you get meals. The hotel setup is very nice, and overall it's a first-class experience. It's why I keep coming back, man. You really blow it away when you put on your combine, and it's an opportunity for guys to that may not have the chance to come here into the PIT, or who have may been playing for the last couple of seasons abroad and want to take that leap to the next level. It's just, it's a staple of my summer for sure, and I'm looking forward to it.
No, definitely. We appreciate you coming, and yeah. So let's look at, Tyler, a little bit of these players. There's a host of these guys that we've seen. That I've seen this year. We've got. Let's just start with K&D's landscaping. A few of the guys I'm really looking forward to seeing is actually, you know what? I'm looking at the wrong team here. I apologize. We actually have Mike Duman Auto
Mike
Sales.
Duman and Portsmouth Partnership.
I was looking at the wrong side of my my cheat sheet, but
so why don't we just give a rundown, James? You go through Mike Duman, just go through each guy and a little bit of background, and then I'll take Portsmouth.
Okay. Well, we've got the first name here is one of the biggest guys you see out there. I believe he's the one that had his hood up. You'll see him in the black leggings, the black and gray sweatshirt pullover. That's Joe Lual Akil, and hopefully I pronounced that right. He's out of Baylor, 7-footer. I did not get a chance to see him this year, but really good numbers. Averaged 2 blocks a game, Tyler, with 14 and 9 on the boards. Marcus Lee is another player you'll see, 6'11" out of Cal, 11 and 7 with 1.6 blocks, but he's doing it in a high-level league in the Pac-12. One of my favorite guys here, pre-early favorites, was the Player of the Year out of the American Conference, Gary Clark.
Defensive Player of the Year too. He's the only guy to have both accolades here.
Both accolades, and the reason that he is a personal favorite is because he is actually from North Carolina, where I'm from. And when me and Marcus Shockley, our producer, used to run our Basketball Elite Southeast Summer Showcase, which was a premier event for high school players. We had college coaches there watching. We did it for about 4 years. He actually attended it one year, Tyler, and he was our MVP of the event. And this is before he had committed to Cincinnati. To Cincinnati. But he's a guy, Tyler, that's extremely, extremely versatile. I mean, he could do it all. I mean, he gets, like we already said, Defensive Player of the Year. He gets blocks. He gets steals. He has a high motor, high athleticism. He could score it, and he scores it efficiently. He could score it from inside, outside. Really skilled, could pass the ball, can dribble the ball. he's a guy that needs to work a little bit on his three-point shot, but he's done improvements to that over the years. I see him at the next level as being a 4. He can if he could improve his ball handling and speed a little bit more off the bounce, I think he might be able to become a 4-3. So he's a guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing here. The next guy is another wing, Tyler, that I've had a chance to see actually this year. He played against Davison, and I was at that game out of LaSalle. B.J. Johnson, who was all-conference in the A-10. And B.J. is similar to Gary in the fact that he's long, lengthy, pretty athletic. But B.J. Johnson, he's a guy that he's a better scorer, I would say. He averaged over 20 a game. He's a lefty, really good length, great mid-range shooter, playmaker. His assist numbers were a little low, but that's not indicative of how good a passer he really is. Can handle the ball pretty well. And again, like Gary, really good defender. Got down in defensive stance a ton, which I really liked. I think NBA teams are going to fall in love with him this week. We've got a few more guys just to hit real quick. The 2 guards are guys that I think they might have one of the best backcourts here. Nate Mason out of Minnesota. A lot of fans have heard of him. He was close to 17 points a game this year. Really good guard. Could play, could shoot the basketball from deep a little bit. And then his backcourt mate, all-conference out of the ACC, Matt Farrell out of Notre Dame. And I had the chance to see him this year against Wake Forest. He came into town. And Matt Farrell is one of those guys that we talked about earlier, Tyler, that can get people open shots, great with the ball, Steve Nash-like ability where he keeps his dribble alive, able to get guys open shots, really good shooter from deep, okay? And he's just got a high IQ, can play the pick and roll really good. And he's going to be somebody to watch this week.
Yeah,
so I think they've got a great backcourt.
There you go. We got a future 2-time NBA MVP in the building in Matt Farrell. You heard it from James Blackburn first. But no, seriously though, Matt is he's a very solid player. He's got that long range marksmanship that you look for in a ball handling guard, and his court vision is off the charts. So. Really interested to see where his career takes him and how he plays this week. I know he's going to be competitive. He's going to be scrappy. And he's got the accolades to back up what he can do.
Yeah. And tell us, Tyler, and again, we'll go over these players a little bit more once they go in their actual groups. We're just trying to give you an overview now. But give us an overview, Tyler, of Portsmouth Partnership.
Yeah. The Portsmouth Partnership Club is going to play tonight, like we said. One of their really great players is Chris Chioza out of Florida, 6-foot guard. He can play make, sees the floor. He's improved his three-point shot throughout his career. And what I really like about Chris is he's a tough defender. He gets after it. He makes you work. He was all-conference player in the SEC, and he's got potential here to really open some eyes and put on a show.
And Tyler, one quick note about Chris. I was actually able to see him, I believe it was this summer, might have been the summer, I think it was this summer, at the Chris Paul Elite Camp. So Chris Paul does an elite point guard camp in Winston-Salem, where I'm from, and he brings the top guards. Nate Mason was another guy that was there, but Chris was there, and he looked really good this year, but he's got a nice three-point shot that's really simple, but it's really quick. And he's a guy that I could see, if the NBA didn't work out, his game really does translate to the European level pretty well. So, he's a guy that's
for sure.
That's going to be seen
good
from
insight.
that level.
We're looking forward to seeing what Chris brings. Also on Portsmouth Partnership is Daryl Macon. I'm excited to see Daryl because he's a great athlete. He's an all-conference player. He played at Arkansas. He can create space with his dribble. He really can break guys down. He's going to be one that when the ball's in his hands, there's going to be a little bit of electricity in the air. People will kind of be on the edge of their seat. He attacks the rim. He gets to the free throw line, and he also has no problem letting it fly from deep. You're talking about a 6'3", 185-pound guard that scored 17 a game and got to the free throw line at a very high rate. Big things ahead for Daryl. He's certainly one that's going to be high on the list of guys that are watching. You also have Kendrick Noon, a guard out of Oakland, and guys like Kendrick really use this time to put their name on the map. They may have gotten overlooked, but Kendrick was the player of the year in his conference. He put up the big numbers. He backed it up with his performance on the court, and he's going to use his tools to show what he can do here. And he's very confident, obviously, being able to put up those kind of numbers, 26 points a game.
That's ridiculous.
At Oakland, and he shot the three ball at 40%. So he's a proven winner. He's done it throughout his career. He gets to the rim with ease. He's able to break guys down, and he can really shoot it with range. Elijah Stewart is also on the Portsmouth squad. Elijah's a great spot-up shooter. He protects the ball. He doesn't turn it over, and he's disciplined on defense. He's one of the guys out there communicating, moving over to the help, getting deflections, and getting out and running in transition. Elijah's 6'5", guard wing player. Hayden Dalton out of Wyoming is here with Portsmouth's partnership. Hayden is a pretty big guy. He's slim, but he's got length. I'm interested to see what his athleticism grades out at, because he put up solid numbers, 17.5 points, almost 8 rebounds per game. He really scores at an efficient rate, and he rebounded good. He really rebounded good for a guy who may be a little bit thin. He crashed the boards and was able to help Wyoming have a good season. And shout out Wyoming basketball. Derek Cook Jr. was with me for 2 years, and 1 season in Bakersfield and 1 season in Northern Arizona, and he had a tremendous year this year with the Perth Wildcats in Australia. So out of Texas Tech, we got Zach Smith, high motor guy that can finish with either hand around the basket. And these are the type of guys that we talk about, the three-quarter sprint. Zach's going to do great in it because from what I've seen, he's an explosive leaper, and he really runs the rim well. He gets up and down the court at 6'8", 220 pounds. I mean, he's the size of a tight end, James, and he gets up and down the court with ease and with speed, and he can play above the rim. He's going to try to show here. He very may well try and show, or he may not, but he needs to show his ability to shoot the ball, and that's what it's going to come down to, whether he's got a potential to be a guy that can consistently knock down shots, or maybe he's just going to be an energy guy that runs and finishes and dunks and rebounds and gets up and down. Either way, he's going to be a productive player at the next level. 2 more guys here out of Wichita State. We have Shaquille Morris, so another big dude, 6'8", 280. He got it done this year. He's a sturdy frame, obviously, but he shot the ball and finished. And those are two great qualities to have from a big man, from a guy who's maybe played a lot of 5 throughout his career, but now is going to need to play some 4. He's shown he can block shots. He's a good athlete. He checks a lot of boxes, and we'll see now how it translates when he's going against other quality players at his position that are going to be just as physical. They're going to try to wrestle with him around the rim and not let him bully them underneath the basket. And so, Shaq's going to have his hands full this week for sure, but he's got a high ceiling and certainly one that scouts will be watching. And lastly, we have Ben Lammers out of Georgia Tech playing for Portsmouth Partnership. And Ben's a smart player. He's one of the bigger guys here, similar to Thomas Welsh in terms of, hey, he's almost 7 feet. He weighs about 230 pounds. He's got good overall skill set, and he's a smart guy. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's got good defensive instincts. He's going to be in good shape, and he's got a consistent form on his shot, especially from the free throw line. Nice smooth stroke, and we'll get to see Ben out here competing. So real quickly, James, as we wrap up the roster breakdowns, just want to shout out one of my good friends, your good friends as well, Patrick Oxford, who really put in a lot of work and effort into breaking down these PIT rosters, which is certainly helping me. It gives us something to fall back on, and his material is available. You can find his stuff on Twitter. I believe it's Hoop Metrics with an OX on the end of it, but we'll shout him out again throughout the week. And you can find Pat's really all-encompassing PIT guide online. His Twitter handle is Hoops Met, METROX. So like like I said, Patrick really, really knows his stuff. He puts a lot into it. He makes sure that we're prepared so that we can inform the viewers and the listeners of what's going on and what kind of players you can expect. And then, you combine that with our spot up here on our perch, James, and we're going to get a really, really good evaluation on these guys that is going to benefit not only you guys but us as well, because we're here, we're engaged, we're watching, we're going to have the scoop on these guys, and certainly that's going to be valuable information for those inquiring about how the Portsmouth went and what kind of prospects we saw there.
Yes, and we were just actually got a couple inquiries on Twitter, fans asking if we were to get the combine results. And what I've been told is we were going to check on that. If we do get them, we will definitely give them to you guys to see. But we are checking on that now to see if we will have access to those, and if we do, we could post them.
Yeah. And
they will be on the Portsmouth site.
Coming in with an NBA credential in the past, I've always received those things, so I'm pretty confident that we'll get some results. Not sure on the turnaround whether they'll be tonight or whether they'll wait until tomorrow's session is gone to compile everybody and give us the feedback over the weekend. So for those guys asking, just stand by. We'll do our best to communicate it, and until then, we'll just have to watch and see. We'll keep the camera panning from station to station. Again, we have the vertical jump directly in front of us. To James and I's left, we have the lane agility drill. Directly underneath us is the three-quarter sprint run, where it's literally that. It's a three-quarter run straight ahead in a straight line. And then to our right at the basket down there, we have the reaction shuttle, which, as we broke down when the first group was out, is more of a traditional football type drill where these guys are reaction to the lights. You can see he's in a stance, he's ready to go. When the light goes up, boom, he shuffles to his left, slides to his right, sprints through the drill, and that's it. It's a left, right, left, boom, boom, boom. See how quickly you get off the spot, and it's valuable. Hey, you're talking about guys. I know you may be a little sensitive to guys sliding over and taking charges, James, but that is a skill, and seeing guys that can do this reaction shuttle drill is big time, because they can do just that. They can slide over, get in position, absorb the contact, and take a legal charge. That's a clean play, not a dirty play. But certainly there's no restricted area.
What's your plus minus, Tyler, on charges taken for the week? I'm going to go ahead and set it at 3. Would you take over 3 or under 3?
Oh, 3 is a pretty good number. I'm gonna have to take the under on 3. I'm gonna say
you're taking the under for 3 for all week.
All week.
Okay.
We may get a few offensive fouls with them, but that's
actual
different.
charges.
That's different. Actual guy step in there, take a charge, and let me tell you something. If he tries to take a charge and the referee calls a block, I'm going to lose it.
I'm not. I'm going to go down there and give the ref a high five on the court. I am going to go ahead and take the under like my boy World B usually does, and take the under and go under myself. So
you set the line, James. How can you take
the under?
Hey,
that's the best part. I'm setting the line and I'm betting on it. That's how it goes. But yeah, we've, like you just covered, Tyler, just to give these guys, if you're just now tuning in, we have our second group of the 32. So this is 16 players, 2 teams, 8 players per team, and we've got them just kind of rotating. So we'll pan our cameras from group to group, just give you guys an idea of what's going on. A few minutes ago, Tyler, we saw Matt Farrell. We talked about him in the all gray. He was running the three-quarter court sprint, and that's pretty important for him because he's a guy that I think to get to that NBA level, a question mark for him is how well he does with speed. So a lot of these drills, I think NBA teams will really look at with him. How well can he slide his feet? How hard can he run the floor? Because I did notice against Wake, at times he has trouble guarding quicker guys. He's a guy but the good thing about him, like I said, is he doesn't really rely on his quickness or athleticism. He's got such high IQ that, he's able to, he takes his time, he plays with pace, he's got tons of poise, he never gets rushed, he never gets hurried, and he just plays the game at his speed. So, but it will be interesting to see how well, if he could come here and he could put up better numbers than maybe what teams thought, that will translate and teams will really notice that.
No doubt, and we made the point earlier that these guys are out here in more or less what you call street clothes. They don't have practice gear. They don't have issued official stuff to wear. I mean, some guys have these PI T-shirts. Some guys are repping their school. And, you know, we see Marcus is decked out in Cal from head to toe with Under Armour.
I'm going to need some of this gear, by the way.
Yeah, and so, you know, we're really putting names to faces right now. We want to give the viewers an overall sense of what's going on. The big thing for me that I'll keep coming back to is some of these guys will jump off the page, and you'll see a quick burst, or you'll see a sprint that just makes the papers shuffle on the desk because they're running so fast that you know, it really doesn't matter what their name is. They're just an athlete out here that's trying to put a good number on their combine test scores, and certainly tonight we'll have the uniforms on. But we're gonna see Marcus go right now on this reaction shuttle, and see how he gets down and moves.
Yeah, and this is a guy to really check out, because I watched him down here, Tyler, just a few minutes ago on the lane agility, and he moves extremely well for a big guy. You can tell he's lanky, he's got great length, and, you know, that helped him average 1.6 block shots per game this year at Cal. So, you know, as we watch him go through that drill now on the reaction shuttle, that's real important for him to see how well, especially at the NBA level, can he get from one side of the lane while he has 1 foot in? You call that, you know, a lot of times 2.9, you know, meaning 2.9 seconds. Can he get to the other side to be able to help there and get the block shot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, he takes up a lot of space at 6'11". He moves quick. He gets off the ground. We'll get his stats. We'll get his vertical jump and these times on these lane agility. But it looks to me like he's doing really well, especially for an agile, mobile, big guy. He's one that NBA teams certainly will be intrigued with, and should he find himself in the NBA Summer League at an NBA training camp, it's going to be for Marcus. It's going to be how well does he rebound the ball? How tough is he? Is he able to come over on the weak side and block a shot? Does he sprint the floor every single time as hard as he can? And those are the qualities that if he's able to display, he can set himself up for a long and prosperous career in the NBA. And if he's playing in the G League, which undoubtedly if he stays in the States, he'll make an appearance in the G League, whether it's part-time, full-time. Doesn't really matter, because that's an opportunity. And for a big like Marcus playing in a league that's very guard dominant, he'll have a chance to do something special, to lead the league in block shots, to get 20 rebounds in a game. To be a dominant presence around the basket. And that stuff translates. That translates to consistency and dependability in the NBA. And you can't teach size, James. You can't teach size. So for Marcus to come out here this week and show that he's got a consistent motor, that he's a stand-up guy, that he gives his all when he's out there on the floor, he will really be setting himself up for some great opportunities here over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Tyler. You had mentioned, you know, these guys going to NBA Summer League and then to, you know, training camp. And I always tell people it's a step-by-step process. You know, this is just step one of a lot of these players', you know, futures. You could go from here, and then the next step would be the NBA Draft Combine in Chicago. And then you could go from there. And if you're not drafted in the NBA, you could go to the NBA Summer League. And if you do well in the NBA Summer League, you could go from there and you could get yourself a training camp invite. And then after training camp, you might be able to make the final roster or, you know, the overseas. So we are looking now at the lane agility, and the big fella out of Baylor just went, and man, he ran pretty well.
Yeah, Joel Lowell, he really got around that lane fast, and he's one that he's very intriguing because of his intangibles and his ability to impact the game above the rim. You know, 2 blocks a game, and it's not like that's all he can do, because he scored 14 points a game. He got almost 9 rebounds a game, and we've got a couple little more facts on here on Joe Lau Asul. He gets most of his offense on post-ups, cuts, and puts back. And he's able to post up and really utilize that mid-post and face-up game, which that's a big skill to have. If you can play off the block, face up, and then get into the paint, get into that prime real estate, that area right underneath the rim, and finish with a hook shot, with a dunk, or with a drop step move, an up and under type move, that's going to allow you to play out of what in the NBA they call the dunker spot. And the dunker spot is located a couple feet off of the lane, and we've been talking about defensive 3 seconds today. We just mentioned 2.9 positioning. So for a big that can stand at the dunker spot, that prevents his defender from clogging the lane. His defender must be outside of the lane within an arm's length of that big. And if these guys are able to play off the block, a guy like Joe, if he's able to play from the dunker spot, he can really find ways to impact the game offensively because he's getting put-back dunks. He's getting dump-offs from guards to slam it home. He's able to catch and operate, and he really can become a force on the offensive end. We see him again moving. He's running fast. He backpedals. He slides. Big things ahead for Joe for sure.
No, I like him. I did get a chance to see him live this season, but really like the way he was moving there. And this group is really intriguing. I mean, we already mentioned Matt Farrell, who's about to go. Next in the gray shirt is, we haven't said a whole lot about B.J. Johnson from LaSalle, Tyler, but I was able to see him play this year, sat front row, watched him at Davidson. And what I really liked about him, more than just his scoring ability, was the fact he was such a team guy and his poise level. LaSalle did not have a great season this year, and against Davidson, they lost that game, and it was not close. But the entire game, his facial expressions didn't change. He helped players up. He never gave up. He never got upset with teammates. Even though they did get beat bad, he didn't show frustration, which for a player like him, a senior guy, obviously the best player on the team, he put up big points. He was great all the way around, and he really showed a lot of character. I think he would definitely be, he is a G League prospect, but he could be great in Europe right away because of his scoring ability. I think he could play at a pretty high-level league right away. Needs to add a little bit of weight, but and improve his three-point percentage a little bit. But like I said before, great in the mid-range, could get out in transition, and his defense ability to be able to guard multiple positions. I know in that game he switched a lot onto the smaller guards, and he just got down into a defensive stance. We're watching that group right now in the reaction drill down on the right. So,
well, that's great perspective, James. I mean, you just peeled back several layers of his evaluation, from his ability to score the ball from the mid-range, his length, his intangibles that he possesses on the court, but also things that sometimes go unnoticed: his attitude, his ability to be a good teammate, his coachability, his motor and effort. And from those, you add on an aspect like this, and this is just another layer of his evaluation and what he can do as a pro. You mentioned a guy like BJ being a player who may be very well suited for Europe, and that's not to say that he doesn't have the athleticism or the shooting ability or anything to prevent him from being looked at as an NBA prospect, but it certainly makes him very intriguing for these teams in high-level European basketball to say, man, this is a guy who can sit down and guard players, who's not afraid to take shots, who knows how to score, who can get his off the dribble, who can pull up and shoot it and knock it down. And those are the qualities from not only just like a confidence and poise standpoint, but also from a coachability and he's very intriguing for these European teams because of these tools that he possesses. And he's one of the guys that, he's accomplished enough to really be here. Obviously, he's here and he's invited here and he's here for a reason, but also his ability to put the game in his hands and take over for stretches. That makes him very, very intriguing for European teams.
Yeah, and we're gonna move down to another group, Tyler. That's got a couple of guys on the Portsmouth partnership. You see the big fella Ben Lammers, believe that's how you say his last name, from Georgia Tech, and we talked a little earlier about him. You just saw Chris Chioza from Florida, really good point guard, averaged over 6 assists a game this year at Florida. He's in the white long sleeves. Ben is in the short sleeves. I believe that is Ben with the high shoulders from Georgia Tech. But this is an interesting group. I'm not sure who the guard is in the black long sleeve. That might be Nate Mason, actually, or is it Kendrick Nunn?
Yeah, I believe that's Kendrick, James.
Okay, that might be, yeah, I think you're right. Kendrick Nunn from Oakland. We're trying to see the logo on his shirt. It's a red logo. I'm not sure if that's...
No, that's Chris from Florida.
No, well, Chris, I thought, was in the white long sleeves.
Yes.
But we're trying to figure out the third member of that group. You see him on your screen in the black long sleeve. So, again, bear with us. We do not have numbers for this. We are mainly just going off of when we've seen the player in college, and sometimes their shirts say their school. But tonight, every player will have their numbers, everything like that. And we think we figured it out. We believe that it's Elijah Stewart from USC. Southern Cal, which would make sense because his shirt's black and red.
Yep.
And
I'm going to take a flyer and say that it's Elijah.
Yeah, we're hopefully if Elijah, if you listen later and that's not you, we apologize. I'll give you Tyler's address later, and you can feel free to go visit him and give him a piece of your mind when you want to.
He's a guy that I've seen play, but they look different. When
they're
not in their school uniform, they're not on the bright lights, the big stages of televised college basketball, and you kind of get them here, and it makes them more personable, more relatable. They're guys that are just 22 years old and they're just finishing college. So you and I were in that position 7-8 years ago.
A long time ago.
It goes quick.
It does. We're getting up in age now, Tyler.
You hit the ground running, being at the PIT. Your first year out. It took me a couple of years to build the status to be able to be a PIT regular.
Well, and Tyler, I'm glad you said that about how these guys aren't in their uniform, stuff like that. I love the feel here because me and you go to Vegas every year. I mean, we've got a lot of stories we probably can't share on air about Vegas, but the Vegas atmosphere, as far as not only NBA Summer League, but we go to a lot of these smaller showcase camps, combine camps, invitationals, whatever you want to call it. And it's so cool to watch those guys play in that setting because all these guys have played in college, different places, but they come there, they're putting on a uniform, a little penny usually, but they're playing with guys they've never played with before. The game's a lot more up and down. There's not near as many calls, as many foul calls, as many stoppages as play. So the flow is just so much better. And for us scouts, it just gives us such a better, atmosphere, I guess you call it, to see players and really get a handle on what these guys could do.
Yeah, you really want to see guys be able to play through that stuff, and it's a physical game, and as you get up in level and up in competition, the game really gets, it's built for tough individuals, for guys that can not only make spectacular plays athletically, but that can also physically overpower you. And it's the same whether it's in Europe, where it may be a lot more physical. It is more physical, but it may be a lot more physical than the NBA because they let them get away with a lot around the basket and the screens that are set and the ability to use your hands defensively is something that's not available in the college game, especially over the last few years. There's been so many whistles for hand checks and fouls, and the rules are clearly defined, and that's the way the game is called. But these guys now are going to have to transition into a much more free-flowing game, a much more aggressive style, and they're going to have to play through contact, play through whistles, because the last point here that we're going to make is the NBA guys and high-level EuroLeague team players get the whistles. They get the benefit of the calls. The superstars get them. These young guys, these rookies that are coming in, whether it's the G League, whether it's the NBA or in Europe, or even we talked about the Asian countries too that sign American players. Those guys aren't getting the calls; they're letting them play.
Yeah, and Tyler, I want to just make a quick note. We actually said somebody's name. We actually said the wrong guy. Ben Lammers from Georgia Tech is not in the white and yellow. He is actually now at the basket that we have shown the lane agility.
Georgia
He's
Tech
got
colors.
the blue
Yeah.
Georgia Tech shorts. And my producer is telling me I am now fired because of
man,
that.
I'll take it from here, James.
So,
Thank you, man. I
I
appreciate
might
you.
have to sound off now, but he is in the gray shirt, short sleeve with the blue shirt, and you're going to see him go through his station here in a second. We're trying to figure out now who that is that you now see in the red shorts and the white long sleeves. He's definitely a guard. And Tyler, I'm not sure. Is that – it looks like that's Arkansas.
That's our guy,
Yeah, so that's Daryl Macon.
That's
and
Macon. That's
he's
him.
17 points a game in all conference this year in the SEC. Really improved conference. Sent a lot of teams to the tournament, and Arkansas they were pretty loaded this year.
Yeah, I really like SEC basketball. It's a style that's conducive to the pro game. They have guards that can really fill it up. They've got bigs that are athletic, that block shots and run the floor. And you can really mine the SEC for a lot of talent that may not show up in terms of success in the conference tournaments and whatnot. I know, Florida has had their runs, and Kentucky is a perennial powerhouse. But as a whole, in terms of prospects, it's really one of the most abundant conferences in the country.
No, it is, and they, like I said before, people have known them as more of a football conference, but this year, they've done some things, and right now you're going to see a player we haven't spoken of at all yet in the all gray, and I hope I get this pronunciation right. Tyler, do you want to attempt that? It's Igor.
Igor Kulichov.
Exactly,
My guy.
Yeah, everybody's your guy, man. I love that. You're stealing my thunder there, but he's he's from Florida, 6'5", 205. Got a nice frame to him, pretty cut up, and he was solid across the board this year. Tyler for Florida, another SEC guy, 13.7 points a game, shot 40 from deep, 6.4 rebounds a game, and 86% from the free throw line. So he's could be somebody here that this could be, a guy that's going to put up a lot of corner threes. I can see him helping space the floor.
Yeah, you talk about Igor, and he's one of those that jumps off the page because he comes in and he's got a very, very solid frame. He looks the part of a NFL linebacker, and he's put up very good, very impressive stats over the last season at Florida. And talk about things that he can do at the next level. He can shoot it from deep, and he really plays big. I mean, he plays tough, physical brand of basketball. He can guard threes, he can guard fours, he can box out fives, and he really is an efficient guy in transition because he runs hard to the corner. He knocks down corner threes. He's sneaky enough to get in all the way to the rim in transition to make a play, to look a guy off, and he's also willing to make the pass because he's kind of able to play that catch it, shoot it, swing it type game. He's a smart player. And he does what he does. He doesn't try to get outside of his comfort zone. You're not going to see Igor attack much off the dribble. He's not looking to create his own in ISO situations. He's looking to play tough defense, to be a guy that hustles more than anybody else on the floor. And he's got a very unique and special ability to get down the court and knock down threes.
Doesn't play outside his capabilities is the way I like to call it, Tyler. And we talked about this earlier today, but some of these guys, unfortunately, they're going to try to play outside their capabilities. Somebody has maybe gotten in their ear and said, hey, you're only a 6'7", 4-man, and I know you didn't shoot threes in college, but I think when you come out here, you need to start shooting threes to show these NBA teams. And a lot of these guys actually hurt themselves if they can't do that yet by doing that. They would be better served by coming out here and doing what we always talk about. Do what got you here. If you're a guy that's an inside guy that rebounds the ball and, plays hard and does things like that, do that when you're here. Don't try to necessarily – these guys just got done with their senior seasons. Some of them have been training a little bit, I'm sure, and trying to improve things that they maybe they were a little weak at in college for the next level. But, they may have just started that a couple weeks ago, and you're not going to really see, this is not the time to put in a new part of your game. Do that when you're by yourself in the off season. This is the time you come here and you show what you do.
Definitely, James. You nailed it. You have to come in and show what you're capable of and be okay of your limitations. Be aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overexpose yourself into things that will get you crossed off the list, because that's all you're trying to avoid. You don't want to be crossed off the list by doing something that's uncharacteristic of your nature and your game. There's plenty of time to work on that. These guys are going to be drafted in or signed in to really premier organizations and programs where player development is going to be a huge focus, especially should a guy wind up in the G League. They're going to get to work on all aspects of their game throughout the season, and they'll also be given a comprehensive guide of what they can do in the offseason to improve. So right now, just coming out of school, there's a lot happening. Their heads are going to be spinning once these games tip off. You really have to stick to what you're good at.
Yeah, and I just noticed while Hayden Dalton from Wyoming, that is actually the one in the white shirt. That Wyoming was really hard to read. I had to give a hard look at it. But Hayden was actually all conference at Wyoming, 6'8", really long. He looked taller than 6'8". That's the funny part about it. He actually looks like he's
6'10".
Yeah, exactly. But he was 17.7 points a game. But he looks like he's going to be kind of in that Peyton Aldridge form, where he's going to be a stretch four. He shot 40% from deep this year. Again, he was somebody that I did not get a chance to see being an East Coast guy. But, Tyler, I know you got a chance to watch him. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about
Yeah, well, we talk about Hayden, and he's really what Wyoming plays at fast pace. So they get the ball up and down the court. He's prepared to play in an NBA-type system where the shot clock is at 24 seconds. He can get down the court. He can get right into offense, and he can make you pay quickly because he can pick and pop and knock it down. He's also very, very deadly from the trail position. So Hayden's one of those guys that you always have to know where he is on the court. He's not afraid to let it fly. He can impact the game quickly because of his ability to knock down shots. And it's not like he's limited to just being an offensive guy, because he's scrappy. He gets there, he crashes the boards, he makes things happen, and for his limitations, he's able to compensate with some really, really big strengths to his game that are going to translate well.
Yeah, and Tyler, I've actually got breaking news here. We're watching the three-quarter court sprint. We're watching Chris Chioza from Florida run, and he actually just ran a 2.98 seconds. The fastest ever time in Portsmouth history since they've done this testing has been a 2.90. So, I'm guessing, if I was a betting man, I would bet that Chris just ran then at 2.98, the fastest time that we've seen here today. Mm-hmm. Of course, this is only half the group. But, we mentioned that earlier, that Chris is a guy that, has the quicks and has the speed. So, he was able to get to the paint a lot this year, averaged over 6 assists a game. And in an open system at the NBA level, that's going to really translate. He's a little smaller at 6 feet tall, for an event like this. But, for being small, he's certainly quick, and he's going to get up and down the floor very,
and
very
Florida
quickly.
Certainly produced some guys that are capable of playing both domestically and abroad. You talk about Angel Rodriguez from last year. He really played good in Israel this year, and he's right there on the cusp of NBA training camps type of thing.
Irving Walker is another one.
Irving Walker, Shane Larkin. Chris is right there in line with those type of guards. So that suits him well, just to know that there is a precedent that's been set from these guards that come out of Billy Donovan. Well, come out of the Florida system, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. A big thing with these guards, with these 5'11", 6', 6'1" guards, is are they willing to pick the ball up full court? Not some of the time, not half the time, but like all the time. Are they willing to turn the ball handler in the backcourt to make life difficult, and then once the ball is brought up past half court, to commit to having a shrunken court, to really be the spear of your shell defense, and you talk about keeping guys out of the paint. It's very, very, very critical that you can apply that pressure and then protect, the drives, and whether you're fighting over the screen, whether you're getting under and re-engaging, or whether you're switching and then wrestling against a big guy who may try to post you up. Those are the things that people are going to be watching for from Chris, and see if you kind of think that stuff translates.
No, definitely. And one guy I've noticed down there, Tyler, is Zach Lofton from New Mexico State, another two-guard, shooting guard that was all conference this year from a big conference out west. Over 20 points a game, and he's going to be on Mike Duman auto sales. One of two players, with him and B.J. Johnson, are two of the highest scoring players here. But Zach is over 5 rebounds a game, 38% from deep, 46 from the field, and him and BJ are going to be tough to stop. And they've got Matt Farrell feeding him the ball, so both of those guys should really expect to see a lot of openings and a lot of open shots.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Zach's no joke. Like, he's a dynamic scorer, and he does it with both. He gets to the basket and he knocks down threes. He's just a high energy guard. He's able to rebound. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can cut to the basket. He can come off screens. This type of atmosphere really is conducive to a player of Zach's caliber, because he's versatile. He can take what is given to him. If the shot's not falling, he can drive it in. If he's not getting the ball, he can go get it. He's able to make an impact with his size, and with Zach, he's 25 and a half years old. He'll be 26 when the season starts. He fought through some injury in college, and he's got 2-3 years experience on these guys, and you can kind of use that old man strength to make an impact on these young guys and bully them around a little bit. So.
I love the old man strength. That's one of my personal favorites. The only problem is at an event like this, everybody's got old man strength,
Yeah,
So.
They do. There's no 18-year-olds out here, and that's very apparent. And these guys are very competitive. They've been in college programs for 4 or 5, sometimes 6 years, and they come out of here with a mindset of, hey, now it's time to earn money and to make a living. And so you really do come out here playing as hard as you can, playing tough. And a guy like Zach, who's already 25, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that gives him options to, one, go right into an overseas system and not be looked at as a young pup that is going to take a while to mature. And as well, he's a guy that, hey, if he comes out here and shows somebody that he's worthy of a 2-way contract, that's going to be great for him, because then he's not a fish out of water when he goes into the NBA. Physically, he's in the peak or close to the peak of his career in terms of physical prime, and he'll be poised to step right in to a program and make an impact.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've actually talked to a number of NBA scouts, and I know you have as well, Tyler. And we always talk about, an event like this, if you took some of those top 5 or top 10, lottery, players there could be this year, mostly one and dones, and you put them here, they most likely won't even stand out just because of the physical play here. You've got a lot of these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. They come here and maybe, yes, they show more long-term potential, but an event like this that's very much here and now, how well they're going to be able to do against, like you said, a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old in a setting like this that doesn't really, pad them as much as maybe the college game would.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference, and those guys, no fault of their own, but they're going to be really, really closely monitored and protected throughout this whole offseason process. They're not going to get overexposed. They're not going to be put out into physical 5-on-5 type live scrimmages, because you mentioned it. They have the potential. They have the ability to be a perennial all-star in the NBA. So there's definitely a risk reward associated to that. But I completely agree. if they are put out here in this type of setting, it's not going to be as easy as many would think because of the physical nature of the play here at the PIT.
Yeah, and we're gonna wrap it up here. Here in a couple of minutes, we just saw, like we said, the first 32 players for 4 different teams. Tomorrow morning we'll be back here around 8:30, 8:45ish. Make sure you tune back in Netcast Sports. But today, make sure you tune back in at 7 o'clock tonight. Is when the first game's going to start, and we will see Cherry Becker against Sales Systems. And then 9 o'clock is the start time, supposed to be the start time for Game 2. And, Tyler, you're going to be doing Game 2 tonight. But make sure you follow Netcast Sports. You see them up on your screen now. Follow them on Twitter. I believe they're on Instagram as well. And stay tuned to everything that's happening tonight. So we really appreciate it, and we will see you back tonight.
Can't wait.